Hi, my name is John Beyer from IMD, and in this little video what I'd like to do is give you a real quick and dirty way of backing up your files and folders, not only for the refresh, but at any time you want to do a backup. And this procedure can of course be done not only at work, but also at home. And if we think about it, it's something we want to do on a regular basis. We want to always make sure that we have at least one backup copy of our files and folders should anything bad happen to our computer. And the tool that we're going to use to do this is a program that's built into Windows called Windows Explorer. And I'm going to launch that by holding down the Windows key, which is the key between the Control and the Alt button. And while the Windows key is held down, I'm going to tap the E key, which stands for Explorer, in Windows Explorer. And when I do, you'll see the Windows Explorer window comes up, and you'll see that it consists basically of two parts. It contains a part over here on the left side, which contains the devices on your computer, that is your drives, like your flash drive and your LAN drive and your Drive C and all that kind of stuff. And it also contains folders. On the right side of the screen, we have another pane which contains folders, and the left-hand pane of the screen over here does not contain files. And what we do is when we click on one of these things in the items in the left-hand pane, over in the right-hand pane it shows you what the contents of that file is. And in this case I have my pictures highlighted, and in that folder I happen to have some other folders, and I happen to have some pictures too. So one of the things we want to be able to do before we start moving or copying files from our main hard drive designated as C to another drive, let's say our LAN drive or our flash drive, is to find out how much space we have on our drive where we want to copy these new files as our backup. So what I've done in this particular PC is I've added a flash drive, and as you can see it's referred to as removable disk J. And if I click on that, you'll see that right now there's nothing there, an empty flash drive. But it would be useful, if I did have some files and folders there, to find out if there is any empty space available for me to put additional files and folders. And in order to do that, I'd have to find out how much used and free space is available on this particular device. And the way you do that is you come over here and you right-click on Removable Device and select Properties. And when I do that, and shows me how much available space I have on this particular flash drive. As we saw before, I didn't have any files on it, so the whole drive is free, which means in this particular situation, I have 3.8 gigabytes of free space where I can place my files and folders that I want to back up. So let's close this. All right, so let's say I want to back something up to, let's say, my F drive, which is my LAN drive. I can do the same thing. I can right-click on it and select Properties, and here we see what the space situation is on the F or LAN drive. And as you can see, I have 91 gigabytes of free space on my LAN drive. Well, that's quite a lot of space. So it's something to keep in mind if you want to back up your files and folders to any device, to make sure that you have enough space to actually put them over on that device. So the first thing I want to show you how to do is back up your files to the LAN drive. And the way we do that, I'm going to select some files that I have that are not in my documents to give you an example of how you would actually make a copy of files and put them on your LAN drive. And I have a folder over here called John's Slideshows. And if I click on it, you'll see I have a bunch of PowerPoint presentations that I've used in some of my training sessions. And what I'd like to do is take that John's Slideshows folder and put that over onto my LAN drive as a backup. And the way I do that is I select the folder and right-click on it, and when I do, I get this context-sensitive menu that comes up, and what I want to do is select Send To. And when I do that, I have a bunch of options of where I can send this folder. And in this particular case, I'd like to send it to my LAN drive. And as you can see, jbiro2 is my LAN user logon, and I can double check that this is the LAN drive by looking over here and recognizing that it is the F drive. And when I click on that, I will get a little bar going across indicating that the files have been copied over there. It's always a good idea once you do one of these copies that you go back to the target where the files are supposed to go and make sure that they went there. So I'm now going to come over here, and here's my LAN drive, and I'm going to click on that, and there it is. There's the folder that I had moved over to my LAN drive. I can double click it and see here are all the PowerPoint presentations that were in that folder, and therefore I now have them securely located in my LAN drive. The next thing I'd like to do is show you how to copy files to a flash drive, and it's just as easy. So I'll go over here and select again John's slideshows, okay? But instead of this time sending it or making copies of this folder and putting it on the LAN drive, I'm going to put it over on my flash drive or thumb drive. And we use the same procedure. You right-click the folder or the file that you want to copy, and then select Send To. And in this case, I'm not going to go up here and select my F drive. I'm going to select my removable disk J, which is my thumb drive. And when I do that, it will also come up with a dialog box indicating that it is copying the files to where I want them to go, which is the thumb drive. And as I did previously when I was copying files to the LAN drive, I'll want to double check and make sure everything went all right by checking to see whether my removable thumb drive or flash drive has the files. And I do that by clicking on the removable disk over here in the left pane, and as you can see, there's the folder that I sent over that was on my hard drive. Well, it actually still is on my hard drive because I used the copy operation and not the move operation. Just to double check, I'm going to double click on this and make sure that all my files are on there, and they are. So this is how you can very quickly and easily make backup copies of your files and folders to other locations. Now, when you make a backup, it's important to realize that when we talk about making a backup, we're talking about copying the files and folders to another device, an external hard drive or a flash drive or a LAN drive. And the idea is I refer to an external drive or device because if something happens to your hard drive in your machine, you want to make sure that your files that you want to have backed up are not on the drive that's in your computer. And sometimes, for example, if you're at home, you may not recognize this because your hard drive at home may be partitioned into a C drive, a D drive, and an E drive. And all of those apparently different drives are actually residing in the same hard drive. So if, for example, you said, oh, I want to make a backup, and you take some files and folders from C and you put them in E, you're not really putting them on a different device. You're just putting them in a different partition, which means a different place on your hard drive that's in your PC. So keep this in mind when you do your backups. And it's always a good idea to back up your files on a regular basis, because if something happens to your computer or something happens to your operating system and you're unable to access the files that you have created, you've lost quite a lot, because After all, you can always reinstall the programs or applications on your computer from the original disks that you have, but it's much more difficult to regenerate all the documents and recreate all the slideshows and spreadsheets that you've created from scratch. So I hope this video has been helpful in showing you how to quickly and efficiently back up your stuff. So I'd recommend that you do it on a very regular basis, and you don't have to actually wait for a refresh to take place before you can actually back up your devices, your files, and your folders, and make sure that you have them in case something goes wrong with your PC.